Hello class. So I'm going to continue talking about some design concepts. Last time we kind of left off with you guys kind of discovering a little bit with your design concepts, and I'm just going to continue with that. Okay, so the next slide here, I want you to take a look at it, and I want you to kind of look at this map for a second. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, the first time I actually saw this map, I was like, what country is this? This is so weird. And the reason this happened to me, I don't know if it happened to you, is I automatically assumed that the blue areas were water and the actual white part were like the countries. So I got really confused at first, but then after a while, I finally got it. So this is an example where you have to kind of be careful with colors because people often associate colors with certain things. For example, people associate blue with water. So if you're going to make a map, probably I wouldn't choose blue for the country of the color of blue to represent land. Okay, land I would assume would be green or brown or any other color for that matter. But I would definitely stay away from blue. I don't know if you actually saw Italy right away or not. You might be better than me, but you do want to be careful to get, be careful of dummies like me. Anyways, okay, so here's another kind of infographic type thing, which talks about topography. Now, topography is very important. I don't remember if I talked to you about this in class or not, but choosing the right kind of font can be very, very, very important, okay? Choosing certain fonts can give the sensation of seriousness, professionalism, or even fun, or even joking, okay? So do take the time to visit this link down here, and let's just make sure it works. And let's paste it here. So I did get this to load up in Edge. It didn't want to load up in Firefox, but the link does work. So you can see the 10 commandments of typography, how to use fonts properly. You may want to familiarize with different font families, but that's not so important. If I could give you one tip about fonts, I would say contrast is key. Okay, and contrast covers all sorts of these tips here. They have it as number 5. You see, fonts with that are very, very different really complement each other. Okay, very fat font with a very thin font, big and small. So these types of contrasts work very well. Okay, and also speaking of contrast, it also works with serif and sans serif, right? So if you recall, serif are all those fonts with those little decorations here. You might see the little decorations on those types of fonts. And here we have a sans serif, right? Garamond being serif with little decorative things, and this one is sans serif. So that's another example of contrast, okay? But with contrast, you want to be a little bit careful because you don't want to mix different moods. So things that you don't want to mix things like, far west with like future, right? They just don't mix, okay? So similar time eras, right? So something futuristic, maybe something formal or something like that, okay? So do take a time to kind of take a look at some of those tips. And they say here some fonts to avoid. Now, in general, yes, avoid these types of fonts. They just don't look serious, or they're just too specific, okay? So I wouldn't say never use Comic Sans, because if you're writing a comic book, right, then okay, yes, you can use Comic Sans. Or if you're planning like a Mexican hat party, then yeah, okay, you might use curls, because that just, for me, screams kind of like Mexican party type thing. But yeah, so do be careful with certain fonts that are just very, very particular they have very limited uses. Okay, so take your time to look at some of those. Okay, so going back here, I do check out those links, and again, some more links for you to look at. This PowerPoint slide is available in Moodle, so from this video you can't click on the links, but when you open up the slides from Moodle, you will be able to click on those links and kind of do a little bit of reading. Okay. Yeah, just kind of do those readings and just see what things kind of resonate with you. Okay. Oh, by the way, we're not turning this into a class exercise, so you don't need to post anything about that. That's usually when we're in class. I get people to kind of work on that together, but you don't have to worry about this for the online lessons. Okay, I'll just go over some other other tips. So again, contrast. Right, look at this. Right, we have a very colorful background with a white font. Right, which really brings it out. Okay. I find this website has a very nice design, right? Very simple, but you can definitely see that contrast. Right? And we can even see contrast with fonts here, right? Really big font and kind of small, right? We also have the contrast of sans serif and serif fonts. Okay, so a very good mix of contrast there. Okay, balance. Okay. Balance is also a very nice design tip. Okay, when you're laying out a graphic, an image of some sort, you want things to not be too heavy on one side. Okay, so if I take a look at this wheel here, right, and I take a look at this text here, they almost look like they weigh the same amount, or one's not, too heavy in regards to the other. If one of these was like really small, like for example this text, if it was just like really tiny right there, then it wouldn't really balance out. Or if I left this text really big here and I had this wheel as like a little tiny circle right here, it kind of looks off, right? First of all, it's off-centered, right? If I put that wheel here, you don't get that balance of centeredness, whereas these can have the same space here as here. The space is right in the center, and these things kind of balance each other out. So remember, visual weight, when you're planning your infographic or any graphic for that matter, try to make things kind of feel balanced for the eyes. Okay, unity. Okay, so here you can see that they do use the same font for many different things, right? And that gives a sense of, I'm not talking about a whole bunch of different things, right? You want some sense of unity, so don't start choosing like 6 different fonts, right? Here you have 2 fonts, this and this, right? So you do have that kind of feel that of belonging, right? These things belong together. Right? Don't mix too many things, okay? Otherwise you disrupt that unity and it just doesn't feel right. Okay. Hierarchy is another good design concept. What things do you look at first? Okay, and this is important because when you think about your audience, you want to kind of guide them and kind of let them know which things they should be looking at first. Right? So immediately your eye will probably be drawn to this wheel, which kind of gives you that visual message, right? This perfectness, right? And then your eye gets drawn here. They even have a line, but the next thing is after you get that visual message, then it kind of like drills it into you, saying, this is beautiful, this is perfect. Okay, so kind of leading the eye. Hierarchy also talks about the position of things. So we tend to look from top to bottom, left to right. So here they really want you to know who they are. So they put that, top left, and that's one of the first things you'll see is who they are, and then the rest of it kind of follows. Okay, so that's guiding the eye. That's talking about hierarchy. What gets looked at first, what gets looked at next, and the way it goes is big to small, top to bottom, left to right. That's how things work in terms of hierarchy. Okay, some more examples. Contrast. Not the most beautiful thing, but definitely does have contrast, and contrast can be just for the fact of ease of reading, right? So you have colorful and then black and white are the biggest contrast that you can have. So you can see that these things really stand out. There's no problem in reading these things. Okay. Here's another example of balanced, right? So this lady here kind of balances out this thing here. We have almost the same space here, and on this side, there's the center line almost, and you can see that they relatively balance each other out. Okay. Unity is an example. You notice how the colors of each of these pictures are all kind of soft colors, not like strong, bright colors. So it would definitely seem strange if I had all of these, and for example, maybe in this square I had like this really, really bright orange and blue sunrise, right? That would look kind of really weird, right? Oh, that color just doesn't match with the rest of them. Okay, so having this things kind of match each other creates that unity, creates that harmony. Okay. And here's another example of hierarchy. So in this case, which box do you start with? Right? Think about that for a second. Okay. Probably most of you said start with this box. Why is that? Right? Well, there's a bunch of reasons. Right? First of all, it's bigger. Right? So bigger things we look at first. Start here, and then after we get our flight, maybe we want to go for hotels. Yeah, another reason why we look at this one first is we said, remember, hierarchy works left to right. That's how we read. So here's on the left, and then we go on to the right. Okay, top to bottom, right? We'd probably do this stuff before we do this stuff. Right? So, example of hierarchy. Okay, and so here is a kind of a bit of a checklist that you can kind of refer to if you want to make something. So general tips for infographics. Okay, so I'll give you a second just to read that before I talk. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to look at those. If not, just pause the video again. But why am I talking about these things? And the reason why I'm showing these is this actually leads up to assignment 3. Okay. So in assignment 3, we're going to do a visual explanation. Okay, I'm not going to assign the exact due date yet because I wanted to kind of do a pre-exercise for this. So I'm going to post the description of assignment 3 onto Moodle, but before you kind of get into assignment 3, we're going to kind of do a lead up where we're going to actually get you guys to grab some paper and pen and kind of draw out some ideas. And this is a very good exercise when you're starting to design something, is just to make some quick hand drawings. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video here and then go on Moodle and find out the next steps leading up to the assignment.